Hello, welcome back to Becky Bakes. Today I'm going to make jammy shortcakes. They're a cross between a biscuit and a cake. Ever so easy, I think you'll like this.
Now I've got the oven on to gas mark 5, which is 190 Celsius or 170 if you've got a fan oven. And I've got 2 baking trays ready with this wonderful non-stick silicone paper from Lakelands. And in the mixing bowl I've got 100 grams of either soft margarine or unsalted butter. And to that I'm going to add 200 grams of self-raising flour and 100 grams of caster sugar. And this is going to be rubbed in now with the fingertips. I haven't got it on a mat because I want to be able to turn it so that I mix thoroughly. So coat your margarine or butter and then lift and rub and drop. You need to be light because this is very soft, and the harder you rub, the greasier it gets. It needs to be soft, but don't, for goodness sake, put it in the microwave to soften it, because you'll finish up with a pool of liquid in the centre of what appears to be a block of still hard margarine or butter, and it just makes everything very oily. So if you can think ahead, that's great. If you can't, get it out of the fridge, cut it up, and then work it in the bowl with a spoon. Cut it into small pieces, work it in the bowl with a spoon, and you'll soften it quite quickly. So I'm really just lightly lifting it, rubbing it, letting it drop back, not pressing too hard, and you can see it's mixing quite well. Turning it round so I get everything in there. And that's what we're aiming for. Nothing on the palms because the palms are hot and they'll melt the fat even more. So now I've got to deal with the egg. Make sure your bowl is big enough for your egg so you can mix it thoroughly, but do crack it into a bowl first to check there's no shell in there. Yeah, we're okay. And then give it a mix. You really need to get the white and the yolk blended well. Otherwise you have pockets of yellow and pockets of white. So that goes in, and then we stir with a blunt knife, simply because it doesn't risk scratching the bowl and it's not quite as noisy. So that just will take a few minutes. Once you start to get big lumps appearing when you press with the knife, you can clean it off and get your hand in there and start to knead it together. So it's quite a soft dough. Gently pull it together. Get the dry stuff coating the wet stuff so that you can then squeeze a little bit harder. Turn it over, use it to pick up all the bits in the bowl. Quite a yellowish colour, quite soft, so don't be too heavy-handed with this. If you're doing it with a child, they sometimes squish really hard and it all comes out through their fingers, so it's more of a sort of a patting than a kneading that you need for this. So out of the bowl, onto the worktop, and the recipe says 16 biscuits, but honestly they're quite big because they spread, and I think 20 is better. So cut it in half, each half into quarters. There we are. And then you're going to get 5 out of each of these. You can make 16 if you want to, but I'd rather do the 20. Now, if you think that one is bigger, give it a piece from there. Take each lump and we roll it into a ball and we put them onto the tray, and they do need to be spaced, and the dots on a domino are the best way to describe how to do that. And you've got to get 10. Typically this works with 9, but you'll see when we get to the end I'm going to have to squeeze an extra one in to get 10 on there. So that's 6, 7, 8. Now I've got to get 2 at the bottom. 9, and there's 10. On each tray, and so the next thing to do is to to flatten them a little bit. Each one needs to just be pressed gently so it's a little bit flatter, and then we take either a finger or you can use the handle of a wooden spoon, and you're going to make a hole in each one. Twist it and it'll come out. Try and get it in the middle, doesn't matter if you don't. Whoops. That's getting sticky. A little bit of flour on the spoon will stop it sticking too much. Now, to that we're going to add some jam. If you like jam, you can make the holes a bit bigger. If you want to use marmalade, you can use marmalade. You can use up whatever you've got. I happen to have got some of these little tiny jars that come from afternoon tea and restaurant breakfasts and hotel breakfasts, things like that. So I would use the end of a spoon and drop some jam into each little hole. That's probably enough for the size I've made. It will melt and sink. It may well bubble over in the oven, but then it goes back into the hole again. There we are. It's a slow process doing this. It takes a few minutes. And then they're going to go in the oven and they're going to cook for 10 to 15 minutes. I suspect it's going to be probably 12 for the top shelf and then another 2 or 3 for the second shelf. And the second shelf will spread more because they go into what is a slightly cooler temperature. So the top shelf will be about the right size and the second tray will be a little bit bigger because of the spreading. So they can go in the oven. First tray is already out. They took 12 minutes and these have taken 15. These have spread a bit more and you can see that this is not a beautiful biscuit. It's a little bit rough and ready, but they're very light and very crumbly. The jam bubbles up and spreads out and then it goes back down the hole again. But they taste nice and they're quite good fun to make. So these are going to need probably 3 or 4 minutes to just set on the tray before they then come off with a blunt knife and go onto the baking tray, the cooling tray, to cool down. So here we are, jammy shortcakes. If I pick it up and break it, you can see it's quite light, a little bit crumbly, but delicious. I hope you have a go, enjoy doing it, and send us a photograph. Like, share, subscribe, and you'll get to hear what's coming next. Bye.